Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and realizing there's nowhere you need to be. No alarm clock, no emails, no deadlines, no boss waiting for you. You open your eyes, step outside, and the biggest decision you'll make is simple. What should I do today? It sounds like a fantasy, but for most of human history, it was reality. Long before offices, factories, schools, and schedules, humans lived very differently. For hundreds of thousands of years, there was no such thing as a job. Nobody earned a paycheck. Nobody worried about promotions. Nobody spent their lives counting down the days until retirement. So what exactly did people do all day? Were they constantly fighting for survival? Did they spend every waking hour hunting animals and searching for food? Or does the truth look completely different? Let's find out. When most people imagine ancient humans, they picture a harsh life filled with endless struggle. The common belief is that every day was a desperate battle against hunger. But evidence suggests something surprising. Many hunter-gatherer societies spent far less time working than modern people do today. Getting food was important, of course, but it didn't consume every hour of the day. Some days people hunted, some days they gathered fruits, nuts, roots, or honey, and some days they didn't need to search for food at all because there was already enough available. Life wasn't organized around a work schedule. It was organized around need. Once those needs were met, people were free to spend their time in other ways, and that's where things get interesting. Let's imagine a typical day. The sun rises, a small fire still glows from the night before. People slowly wake up. Nobody is rushing, nobody is checking the time. The morning begins with conversation. People share food, they talk about where animals were seen, they discuss where berries might be growing. Maybe a hunting group decides to leave. Maybe a gathering group heads into the nearby landscape. Or maybe neither is necessary today. Unlike modern jobs, survival tasks weren't tied to a strict schedule. People worked when there was a reason to work. If a hunt happened, it wasn't always a dramatic chase like you see in movies. Ancient humans were incredibly patient. They tracked animals over long distances. They observed footprints. They followed signs. They relied on teamwork and knowledge passed down through generations. Success depended more on skill and cooperation than brute strength. And when food was finally brought back, it wasn't usually kept by one person. It was shared. The group's survival depended on helping one another. A successful hunter gained respect, but everyone benefited. By afternoon, many important tasks were already finished. This is the part modern people often struggle to imagine. What happened during all the free time? The answer is simple. People lived. They sat together and talked. They played with children. They told stories. They laughed. They rested. They watched the world around them. Some made tools. Others repaired clothing. Some decorated objects with patterns and designs. None of these activities came with a paycheck, yet they mattered. They gave people purpose, identity, and connection. Humans also spent enormous amounts of time creating things that weren't necessary for survival. Archaeologists have discovered ancient jewelry, musical instruments, carvings, paintings, and decorations dating back tens of thousands of years. Think about that for a moment. Someone spent hours carefully shaping a piece of jewelry. Someone carved a flute. Someone painted animals deep inside a cave. Not because they needed food, not because someone ordered them to do it, but because humans naturally create. We make art, we tell stories, we search for meaning. That part of us is ancient. Relationships were also one of the most important parts of life. Today, many people spend more time with coworkers than with family. For ancient humans, it was almost the opposite. Community was everything. If someone became sick, others helped. If a hunt failed, others shared food. Trust wasn't just nice to have. It was essential. That's why people invested so much time in social bonds. Conversations weren't distractions from life, they were life. And then came the evening. As darkness covered the landscape, people gathered around the fire. This may have been the most important part of the day. The work was done. The food was prepared. Now came the stories. Stories about ancestors. Stories about strange animals. Stories about lessons, mistakes, victories, and mysteries. Long before books existed, stories carried knowledge from one generation to the next. Around these fires, cultures were built. Ideas were shared. Beliefs were formed. The human imagination came alive. Then something happened that changed everything. Around 10,000 years ago, humans began farming. At first, farming seemed like a great solution. Growing food meant larger and more stable food supplies, but it also created a new problem. More food supported more people. More people required even more food. Soon, entire communities depended on farming. And farming demanded constant effort. Fields needed planting. Crops needed protection. Harvests needed storage. The workload increased. Over time, villages became towns. Towns became cities. Specialized occupations appeared. Eventually, jobs were born. For the first time, large numbers of people began trading their time for resources. The lifestyle humans had known for thousands of generations slowly disappeared. Today, most of us live in a world built around productivity. We schedule every hour. We measure success through work. We spend years preparing for careers and decades working in them. Yet our ancestors lived in a completely different reality. Their lives were not perfect. They faced dangers we no longer face. But they also experienced something many modern people rarely enjoy: time. Time to talk, time to create, time to rest, time to simply exist without feeling guilty about it. And maybe that's why this question fascinates us. Because when we look at ancient humans, we're not just looking into the past. We're looking at another version of what it meant to be human. A version that spent less time chasing productivity and more time experiencing life itself. And perhaps that's the biggest mystery of all. Not how they survived without jobs, but whether we've forgotten what all that free time was really for.